Hey, welcome to Draft Academy. My name is Mike. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to download and install two things that we're going to need going forward in this course. Now, the first thing we're going to download and install, and the most important, is MySQL. MySQL is a relational database management system, and it's actually one of the most popular relational database management systems around, and a lot of people use MySQL as their first sort of dip or for their first dive into database management systems. And so for that reason, I've picked MySQL as the relational database management system that we're going to use in order to learn SQL. Now, it's important to note that the focus of this course isn't so much on MySQL as it is on SQL. So SQL is structured query language. It's an actual language, and MySQL is a relational database management system. And so we're going to be using MySQL in order to kind of learn about and use and learn all the most common stuff with SQL. The second thing we're going to install in addition to MySQL is actually going to be optional. You don't have to install it, but it's going to be a text editor that we can use in order to write our SQL commands. So it's called PopSQL or PopSQL, and it's an awesome program which basically allows you to write out SQL statements, and then you can execute them from inside the program, and it'll show you all the results that you get back. So I'm going to be using PopSQL in order to kind of visualize everything that we're doing and just make it a lot easier for you guys to follow along. So I'm going to show you guys how to download both those things so you can follow along with me. First thing we're going to do is head over to our browser, and we're going to install MySQL. So you just want to type in MySQL Community Server, and we're just going to type that into Google, and then down here this should pop up. It's just download MySQL Community Server from dev.mysql.com. So MySQL Community Server is a free and open source version of MySQL that anybody can use. And if you're just starting off and learning about SQL and learning about databases, then this is a great starting point. And then all we have to do down here is scroll down, and you're going to see that there's a couple different options here. Basically, what we want to download is the DMG archive. So it's just this first one right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click download, and that's going to start downloading for us. Now it brings you to this page. It's kind of asking you to log in or sign up, but you don't have to. You can just click no thanks, just start my download, and then it'll start the download for you. So it's probably around like 400 megabytes. It's not too big of a file, but it's also not like a super small file. You're probably going to need at least over a gigabyte of storage on your computer to hold everything that SQL is going to need. All right, once that is finished downloading, then we can just click on it, and we're going to go ahead and install MySQL onto the computer. All right, so here we just have this like PKG, so I'm just going to double click on this, and it'll open up this installer. So we're just going to click through, and you can basically just leave everything as the default. Just keep it in the default install location, and it's asking me for my password. All right, so once that is done running the installer, this window right here is going to pop up. It says MySQL installer. It's giving me this date, and it says a temporary password is generated for root at localhost. Now, when we're using MySQL, we're actually going to have to log into the SQL server using a username and password. And in order to log in, you're actually going to need this temporary password that they provide for you right now. Now it's root at localhost. So root is the actual username that we're going to use to log in. Localhost is going to be the address of the SQL server that's running on our computer. And then this is going to be like a temporary password. So what you want to do is just copy this. You want to make sure that you keep this. So what you could do is you could just click Command-Shift-4, and you'll see this little like thing comes up. If you just drag around here, that's going to screenshot this for you. And so now you'll have a picture of this on your desktop. The point is that you don't want to lose this. So you want to make sure that you have this temporary password accessible. If you don't, then it's going to be a problem because you're not going to be able to get into the account. So make sure that you record that, and then I'm just going to click OK, and then we're done here so we can close it, and I'll move it to trash. All right, so once we've installed MySQL, now what I want to do is set up our MySQL server, which basically means that we're going to be running MySQL on our computer. Now the way this works is MySQL is a relational database management system, and it's basically going to act as like a little database server for us, and so we can connect to MySQL, we can log in, and then we can manage the database from there. So we need to make sure that the MySQL server is started on our computer. So I'm just going to come up here to the search bar, and I'm just going to search for system preferences. And then down here, there should be this little icon for MySQL. So we're just going to click on that, and you'll see it's going to open up this window over here. So it says MySQL server status. The MySQL database server is currently stopped. So what we want to do is start it. and I'm gonna put my password in. And then if you want, you can have it automatically start when you open your computer. It says automatically start MySQL server on startup. If you want to do that, you can, you don't have to. So basically now a MySQL database server is running on our computer. And what we can do now is we can connect to that database server and we can log in, and then we can start creating our databases and creating all of our tables and stuff like that. So now that this is set up, there's actually a couple things that we have to do. The first thing I want to do is update our password. So we were given that temporary password. So I'm going to open up the terminal, and you can just go over here to the search bar and type in terminal, and that'll open this guy up right here. So from in here, we need to start configuring a couple different things. First thing we need to do is get this terminal to recognize the MySQL command. So if I come over here and I try to type in MySQL, you'll notice that it says command not found. Basically, our Mac doesn't know about this MySQL command because we haven't told it where it is. So there's a couple things that we have to do in order to get this MySQL command to work. So all we have to do is basically just tell our computer where we installed MySQL. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type this over here, and you guys can type exactly what I'm typing. Echo, single quote, export path in all caps is equal to /usr local MySQL bin. And then you're going to type a colon $path in all caps, just like that. And then you're going to end off the quotation marks. So you're going to do a single quote, and then you're going to do 2 greater than signs. And we're just going to say tilde, which is this little tilde character, /.bash_ profile. So what this is doing is it's actually adding this line inside of this file called .bash profile. Basically what this will do is it'll make it so we can use that MySQL command whenever we want inside the terminal. So I'm just gonna hit enter, and then I'm just going to type in .tilde/.bash profile. This will kind of reload that file. And now what you want to do is type in MySQL, and we'll see if this works. So you'll notice now when I typed in MySQL, instead of saying the command wasn't found, we got this error message that says access denied for user Draft Academy at localhost using password no. What this means is that the MySQL command is now working. So basically we're able to give commands to MySQL. We're able to do stuff like that. So I'm just going to clear this out. And now what we want to do is we want to actually connect to the MySQL server that's running, and we want to log in. So I can just type MySQL just like that. And you're going to type in -u, and you're just going to type in root. And then you're going to type -p, and you're going to hit enter. And this is going to ask you to enter a password. And so now is the time where we want to enter in that temporary password. So in my case, I took a screenshot of it. So that screenshot is now going to be stored on my desktop. It's over here. And so what I can do is I can just look at this screenshot now, and I can type in the password. So I'm going to go ahead and type in that password. All right, so now that I've typed in that password, I was able to log in. So basically now we are logged into the SQL server, or to the MySQL database server that is running on our local computer. So what we can do now is we can actually change that temporary password. So I'm just going to type in the following command, ALTER, so alter user, and I'm just going to type in root at localhost. And you'll notice that I have single quotes around root and single quotes around localhost. So then I'm going to type in identified by. So I'm just going to type in a new password. I'm just going to set it as password just so it's easy to remember. And then you can type a semicolon. And now you want to hit enter. And so what that's going to do is it's going to update your user information. So now you can actually log in using something other than that temporary password. So you'll be able to log in using the password that we set over here. So now what we want to do is just make sure that everything works. So I'm going to type in exit just like that. And I'm going to clear this out. And now what we want to do is try to log in again. So I'm going to say MySQL -u root -p. And this time I'm going to enter in the new password, which was password, and you'll see that I'm able to log in. So as long as that worked and you're able to log in, then you updated your password. So now you're going to be able to get in no problem. So the next thing I want to do really quick is we're actually going to create a database. So MySQL is a database management system. So what it allows you to do is manage and keep track of different databases and the information that are in those databases. So what we want to do before we can actually get started is we want to create an actual database, right? So what we can do is we can just type out create database, and then I'm just going to name this database draft, just like that. So I'm creating a database, named draft. And you can name your database whatever you want. Generally, it's going to correspond to the type of data that you're storing in it. I'm just going to be using this as a general purpose database to go throughout this course. But we can just say create database draft, and this will create a database for us called draft. And then you're going to type a semicolon after that, and you're going to click enter. So now we actually have a database called draft that we can use. All right, so once you've done all that, we're actually done here inside of the command line. Now, here's the thing. If you want, you can actually write out all of your SQL commands. You can do everything that I'm going to be doing in this course here inside of this terminal. Right, so you can interact with the MySQL database server just from here inside the terminal. You can write SQL, you can give it SQL commands, you can do all sorts of stuff like that. In our case, though, I'm actually going to be using another separate program in order to do that. And this environment, this terminal environment, is not a very good environment for like visualizing things and seeing things. And so there's actually another program called PopSQL, which I'm going to use. And I'm going to show you guys how to download that right now. But just know that this part is optional. So if you want, you can do everything from inside of the terminal. So I'm going to open up my web browser again. We're going to come back up here, and I'm just going to do a Google search for PopSQL. And this page should pop up. It's popsql.io. So basically what this is it's a program that we can use to write SQL queries and write SQL code in order to do different things. And PopSQL actually has some really cool features. It's kind of like Google Docs, but for writing SQL queries. In our case, though, we're just going to use it to write out our SQL. So over here, there should be a button to download it for Mac. So I'm just going to click that, and then it's going to go ahead and start downloading for us. Once that's downloaded, then I'm just going to open it up, and we'll be able to run the installer. You see over here, all we have to do is just drag this over to the applications folder, and then it's going to be on our computer. So now what we want to do is we're going to open that up. So I'm just going to go over here to applications, and we'll scroll down to PopSQL, and we're going to open this program up. So in order to use PopSQL, you're actually going to have to sign in. So you can just sign in with a Google account or with an email address. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. So you can see it logged me in. It says, welcome, Mike. So now we'll go ahead and return to the app. So now that we're logged in, what it's going to ask us to do right away is connect to a database. So basically what this application is going to do is it's going to connect to that MySQL database server that we have set up. So what we can do over here is just give this a nickname. So I'm just going to call this draft. And it's asking us for the type. So over here, if you scroll down, you'll see the first option is MySQL. So just click MySQL. Now it's asking us for a host name. And the host name is basically the address where this database server is located. So in our case, it's just at local host, just like that. So just type in localhost, leave the port number the same, 3306 is going to be the default port number. And then the database we're going to connect to is named draft. So if you remember like a minute ago, we created that draft database. That's what you want to put in here. So if you named it something other than draft, put that name in here. And then we need a username. So the username is going to be root. And then the password, which they're asking for down here, is going to be the password that you set up. So in my case, it was just password like that. And then I'm just going to click connect, and this is going to go ahead and connect us to the database. So at this point, we installed MySQL, we set up our first database, and we connected everything with PopSQL. And so now we are able to start using PopSQL. We can start learning all sorts of SQL stuff, and it's going to be awesome. But keep in mind, if you don't want to use PopSQL, which I honestly would recommend using it, you can do everything from inside the terminal here. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Draft Academy to be the first to know when we release new content. Also, we're always looking to improve, so if you have any constructive criticism or questions or anything, leave a comment below. Finally, if you're enjoying Draft Academy and you want to help us grow, head over to draftacademy.com/contribute and invest in our future.